Welcome to the Mountains Are Everywhere podcast. My name's Ryan, and I want to talk about the outdoors, mental health, and everything that connects the two. So lace up those boots, cinch down those packs, and let's head for the mountains. All right, here we go. Welcome in. This is it. This is episode number 1 of the Mountains Are Everywhere podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving me a little bit of your time. Hopefully I can provide some type of value to it. And if not, thanks for giving it a shot anyways. My goal with this podcast really is just to give life to this idea that I've had for a while and just see where it goes, see if anybody resonates with it. Maybe it connects with somebody. And if not, I can say I tried to share a message that I think is important with me. And that message is, I think there is a meaning to be found and benefits to be had by experiencing the outdoors in a multitude of ways. A lot of what you're going to hear me talk about and have conversations about are hunting and fishing related because that's just who I am and how I experience the outdoors and where I find fulfillment. And but it can come from a multitude of different ways, and I hope to have conversations with guests in the future that give their perspective on those type of things. But for this episode, it is just me, so it's just my perspective. I have a little bit of a topic or some topics I want to talk about on this episode, but for the most part, this is there's really no script to it. I'm just going to kind of go with it as it comes to me, so to speak. So I want to preface by saying I'm not some professional motivational speaker. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've actually recorded my voice. That was for a leadership course I took back a couple years ago. So it's not really a strong suit of mine, but maybe throughout doing this, I'll get a little bit better. Just wanted that to be out in the open. And if you expected something professional or maybe this isn't the podcast for you, but what it is for me is an outlet to talk about my time spent in the outdoors and how it's impacted my life, and honestly for the better. There will be times that we probably talk specifically about mental health and related issues and illnesses. So just want to say, I guess, prepare yourselves for that. That's kind of one of the main concepts of Mountains Are Everywhere, where mountains kind of means struggle, it means obstacle, it means hardships as much as it means opportunity and availability of the outdoors. All these things, be it struggle or be it opportunity, they come from anywhere and everywhere, and they're experienced differently by different people. But there is an outlet in the outdoors that can provide somewhere to escape from distractions. It can provide clarity. It can provide grounding. It can provide all of these mental benefits if you allow it to. So I guess in a very small nutshell and without getting too long-winded about it, that's what Mountains Are Everywhere is and what it means to me, and hopefully what it can mean for anyone listening to this. That's not exactly how the idea started out for me. That's not what it meant when I first envisioned this or came up with it. Initially, it was focused specifically on the opportunity to be outdoors and the opportunity coming from anywhere that you might be. And I learned that 19 years old, I joined the military, moved away from West Virginia to North Dakota, experienced the outdoors in a different way, going after different species, doing different things. And that's when I really realized that there's more opportunity than what you might think of if you've never spent a whole lot of time other than what you grew up learning to do. But a little time later, living on my own for a while and adjusting to military life, I unfortunately started to experience and became familiar with mental illness and fought with it for some time. I still do. I had some experiences that maybe down the line I'll share through this podcast, and without getting too far into it, what I'm trying to say is that in the times of struggle, the outdoors has become for me more than just something to go do or a way to kill time. It became a place to clear my mind and come with a better point of view or a better perspective to combat these illnesses that I still, battle with to this day. And I think there are a lot of people out there through really multiple platforms, whether it be other podcasts, whether it be YouTube, whether it be in books, whether it be on TV, they talk about, and some of them do it very well. They talk about the benefits that come with the outdoors more than just the tangibles, but things like finding, creating meaning and purpose, and finding community, and developing discipline and things like this. These are all things that the outdoors can provide. I truly believe that. And what I want to do is paint the big picture that this time spent outdoors is a very viable path to mental wellness. Now, I'm not a scientist that can sit here and tell you all the biological ways that this actually happens. What I want to do is speak from the experience and how it's happened for me, and get the perspectives of other people that experience the outdoors the same way. Now, what this is probably going to boil down to is we're going to sit here and I'm going to tell you stories about my time in the outdoors, a hunting trip or a fishing trip or whatever type of trip it was that I took, or somebody that sit down to talk with me took, and we're going to try to pick apart and pinpoint these kind of concepts that I'm talking about. I'll try not to get your expectations up too much, but because keep in mind, I'm just some country boy from West Virginia that's sitting down and talking about his love for hunting and fishing. But regardless, what I really just hope to hit home on is that mental illness is a real thing, but there are ways to avoid the distractions. There's a way to find greater purpose and sense of self-worth through an outdoor lifestyle. And I really hope to be able to convey that in a meaningful way, and I hope it resonates with somebody. I hope somebody can connect with it, and even if it's just one person over however long I end up doing this, I think it'll be well worth it, and I'll be glad that I'll be more than glad that I decided to share this message. Now, with all that said, I guess it's about time to introduce the topic for today, which is I'm recording on January 2nd, second day of 2025, so what better time than to talk about our New Year's resolutions. I was excited to and completely intended to record this episode yesterday. Unfortunately, in light of the events that happened yesterday, I honestly just became completely deflated, and at the end of the day, I wasn't able to do it. I got caught up in the news. Things got a little bit heavy, and really, I just want to say God bless and protect those families that are experiencing the loss, and as well as, the law enforcement involved and that's handled the situation, that continues the investigation to find out what in the world's going on. Just my thoughts and prayers are in New Orleans and in Las Vegas, and just for our country in general. But aside from that, we're going to talk about New Year's resolutions. Big one for me, number one, is I really want to bring this message, this concept of mountains are everywhere, I want to bring it to life. I've been sitting on it for a long time. I talked about how in the beginning it was all about opportunity, and now how it's not just opportunity, but overcoming mental hurdles, overcoming obstacles through that opportunity. It's been over 6 years that I've been thinking about this, and I don't know, maybe it's because I'm not really an outgoing person, or maybe it's because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and wanted some kind of, perfect avenue or outlet or product or whatever word you want to use. I wanted it to be perfect before I ever introduce it to anybody. And I think if we wait to do something like that, then we're just going to sit on it, and the parade's going to pass us by, so to speak. So I decided that my main goal, one of my biggest goals for 2025 is to bring Mountains Are Everywhere to life. So that's why we're sitting here. That's why I'm recording myself right now, and just doing something I didn't think I'd ever get around to doing. So second resolution for this year is I really want to grow in my faith. I had probably my most profound encounter with God at the end of 2023, and hopefully, most likely, I'll share that sometime down the road. But I had an encounter it was Christmas Eve of 2023, and honestly, 2024 went on to 2024 went on to be probably the most difficult year of my life. I've been struggling with mental health, experiencing anxiety and depression since 2018. But I've been managing it since then, mostly through the outdoors, which again is why it's why it's so important to me to try and share this message. But 2024 again, it was just a very tough year for me. Regardless of how tough it was, I did do better. I spent more time in church. I spent more time reading. I spent more time praying, and that alongside the opportunity for me to be able to go out and hunt and fish and find some grounding and clarity out there, I was able to grow my faith quite a bit throughout the year. It's just something I want to do even more of this year. Not only do I want to grow my own faith, but I want to start sharing with others. So that besides beginning Mountains Are Everywhere, the growing in my faith is right there at the top of my list of resolutions. Now after that, I really hope to spend even more time in the outdoors this year. Again, it's such a profound experience for me. I do my best thinking. In my mind, I save the world when I'm out there, and I want to do more of it this year. I don't know how many days I spent hunting and fishing this past year, or hiking or camping, but I did have some amazing experiences. I took a fly fishing trip this year. I took my best friends and my dad. We did, I believe it was a 4-day trip in the backcountry of the Golden Trout Wilderness in southeastern California, southeastern part of the Sierra Nevada mountains. We fly fished for 4 days and caught the purest strain of golden trout that, based on my research, exists. So that was a beautiful experience, absolutely beautiful fish. If you've never seen a golden trout, a California golden trout, go look it up right now. They're absolutely beautiful fish. It was beautiful country, and it was just amazing to be out there, especially with my dad. My dad was he was diagnosed with prostate cancer a couple years ago. He went through surgery and treatment and was on a road to recovery. Thankfully, they were able to get all the cancer out, but he had a ways to go. And we had talked previously. He really wanted to go on an elk hunt. I went on my first elk hunt back in 2023, and something I am trying to dedicate time and effort to doing annually at this point. And I was sharing that with him. That's what I wanted to do, and he's never been able to do anything like that. So he decided, okay, I'm gonna recover from this. I'm gonna beat cancer, and we're gonna go on an elk hunt. And time was passing, and recovery wasn't quite going as well as he had hoped. And I said, well, maybe an elk hunt is a little bit extreme. What if we do something a little bit smaller, a little bit, at the time I figured less strenuous. I said, what if we do a fly fishing trip? What if we go on a backpacking fly fishing trip? And he's like, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe that's something we should try. And rewind a little bit. I can't remember who I was talking to, when or where it was, but there was one point before I had mentioned this trip to my dad where I had just looked up fly fishing in California. Reverse even more. I started fly fishing when I was 11. My dad got me into it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And it's something that I've tried to do as much as I can ever since. And I didn't do much in North Dakota, but I thought there's got to be some way to do. There's got to be some fly fishing to do out here in California. So I just Googled trout fishing in California. The very first thing that popped up on my feed was the Golden Trout Wilderness. I clicked a link, I read about it, I learned something about it, and I said, this would be an awesome backpacking trip to take. And fast forward, I mentioned it to my dad. He's like, yeah, maybe that's something we should do. So he continued his recovery. He worked out as much as he could, tried to get himself in the best physical shape he could to try out this backpacking trip. We talked a lot about gear. I shared my experiences with gear I had bought for my elk hunt, and just tried to give him the limited the limited amount of expertise that I thought I had on the subject to help him get equipped. And long story short, he did. He got geared up. My two best friends, one of them never really grew up hunting, fishing, but he got into hiking. He recently moved to California too, and he's close enough. We thought this would just be a great trip for him to go on to. And so yeah, we ended up doing it. We backpacked. Overall, it was over 20 miles that we did in the Golden Trail Wilderness. Just a amazing experience. Something I hope to get to do. Maybe not to the same place this year, but also another maybe annual, semi-annual trip that I take to do some backpacking and fly fishing, and hopefully something I can continue to share with my dad for years to come. So with that said, when I talk about spending more time outdoors, I want to find as much of that experience as I can and share it with as many people I can. With my son, who's going to be old enough soon to take trips like that, and even if it's not trips, that grand, just spending more time taking my son down to the pond to fish, or my wife and daughter, we're going to take some camping trips and things like that. I want to spend as much time doing those things as I can, because that's where I find my peace. Kind of related to that, I do hope to shoot my bow even more this year. Me and my best friend and some other friends we made out here in California have put quite a bit of time and effort into building a 3D archery range nearby. So there's a great resource there for me to shoot my bow. And with spending less time, I guess, in the last few years shooting my bow than I used to, I realized that I'm nowhere near as good as I thought I was. When I was growing up, I started shooting a bow. I guess I was like 6, 7 years old, and not well. I just go out and I just found a lot of enjoyment in slinging arrows at a target, and I did that for a while. And I think I was 13 when I got my first legitimate compound bow that was strong enough to hunt with. And not only was I obsessed with hunting, but I was obsessed with shooting that bow. And we had a big basement in the house I grew up in. I probably had like a 12, 15 yard, made a range. I could shoot my bow in the basement. And dude, anytime I wasn't doing anything, anytime you could find me down there, just repetitively shooting and shooting and shooting. Got to the point, I was on my third compound bow. I guess I was 15 at this point. I got my first Bowtech. I would put a little electrical tape on this target, probably about the size of a dime or a penny, and just repetitively shoot it from 10 yards. And then I finally got a Glendale buck target. I started shooting that out in the yard, and again, repetitive. I shot so much, and that just kind of stuck with me. I always thought, shooting bows can be like riding a bike. I can shoot here and there and, pick it right back up. But admittedly, I'm not as good as I used to be, and I'm not as good as I thought I was. So I want to spend more time shooting my bow. I don't know if I'll make it out daily. My very lofty goal was to go out daily. We'll see how that goes. But if nothing else, I'd hopefully be shooting my bow 3 or 4 days a week this year. Along that, I also, I bought my son a little bungee cord bow from the local bow shop a while back, and he likes to go out there and shoot too. So that also gives me the ability to, share that experience with him. My wife, she recently was given a bow by our best friends, and I want to get her even more into it. She actually said to me, I think it was yesterday. She's like, "Hey, next time you go to the bow range, I want to go and I want to take mine." I'm like, "Heck yeah, let's do it." Let's see, what else do I have here? Resolutions I want to attack. Again, sharing more experiences. Not only do I want to, get my wife and my son out there more and share experiences like I did with my best friend that didn't really grow up in the outdoors, but I took him with me. He had a blast. He already has these big plans we're going to backpack Mount Whitney and things like that. But not just that, but the people that I meet throughout this bow range, I feel like every other day I go out there, I meet someone new, and a lot of them are just getting into archery. So I want to try and, include them in things I experience and just share knowledge as much as I can. And not only that, but through this podcast, I like to share the experiences I have and the experiences of anyone that, wants to come on and talk to me about theirs. Just share those with as many people and just get out the idea of how much fun and how much benefit is out there in the outdoors besides the tangibles that most people already know about. And then, I guess finally, my last goal for this year is I want to be a cheerleader. And maybe that sounds weird, but I'm going to try to explain myself here. Among going through such hard times in 2024, I also feel like I was a bit cynical at times. When I would see people that would take advantage of a situation that maybe I could have, or just, I don't know. I spent a lot of time thinking I would, see people do these great things or have these awesome experiences, or just maybe that, they were being blessed in some way. And I'd sit back and I'd think, why not me, And because it wasn't me, I'm like, I don't appreciate that it was you type of thing. And just a sick mindset. And unfortunately, I think that that's fairly prevalent in society today. And it's just something that I hope changes. I'm going to do I want to get out of that way of thinking. And hopefully with progress and spending more time outdoors and sharing experiences and growing in my faith, that's something I'm able to do. And I have to just give props to the friend that I backpacked with. He I've been talking to him a lot about this podcast, and he's been nothing but supportive the whole way. And I texted him yesterday when I told him I had done some practice recordings, and I had planned on sitting down yesterday and recording this for the first time. He was just so happy for me. He said, it's going to be great. I can't wait to listen to it. And that's, shout out to you, Bradley. That's the kind of cheerleader I want to be. And that's how I want to learn to carry myself this year in 2025. So that's really it as far as my list of resolutions. When I first sat down and wrote it, I was like, man, you're biting off a pretty big chunk this year. And honestly, now that I've said it out loud, it just seems a lot of it's related, and I think it's very attainable. Maybe just sitting here talking about it is really boosting my confidence. But yeah, that's it for my list of resolutions. I think I'll spend a little bit of time here trying to cover some other things we might talk about, or other avenues we might go down in this podcast, and then after that I'll close this out. But so I've touched on a little bit about mental health, and I have struggled. I have anxiety. I have depression. I've had suicidal ideation. So from those realms, I could speak from experience. I might share some of those stories, and then share, I guess, some of the treatment methods that I tried and that may have worked or may haven't. Maybe that can help somebody out there. Another topic we might talk about goes hand in hand with the outdoors is conservation. Conservation is something very important to me, and it's very important for our continued use of the outdoors. So don't be surprised if you hear some prolonged conversations about that. And then really, if I am to have guests on, really just any topic that the conversation might lead to. And I don't want to put a really rigid structure to this, because I want it to be free flowing and let it take whatever shape that it may. That said, I will do my best to try and ensure that this provides something to you, and that makes it feel worth coming back to listen to hopefully another episode. And I'm going to go ahead and start trying to wind this down now. And in doing that, I want to go back to our topic of mental health and just say, if you're listening to this and you're struggling with something, I promise you, you are not alone. Honestly, you can turn in any direction, look at anyone. They're probably dealing with something in some form or fashion. Maybe they're just not that open about it. And another thing I hope to achieve with this is to encourage people to be more open about things they might be struggling with. Now, you're going to hear me talk a ton about the mental health benefits of, being outdoors, but don't mistake that for taking the place of actual medical intervention. There is absolutely a time when I think that may be the only options there are, be it therapy, be it medication. I've tried all the above. They all have their place and they have their benefits. My position is just that the outdoors just allows us a method to manage symptoms but is not an actual replacement for, like I said, medical intervention. So if you feel that you're in a place where you need more help than you can find on your own, please make the effort to seek appropriate help. Now, with that heavy stuff said, again, I just want to say thank you to anyone that tuned in and listened to this. I'm very excited to get this thing going. I hope that it grows. I hope it becomes a community. And I really hope that even if it's just one person, that resonates with someone out there and encourages them to experience the outdoors differently, or maybe even for the first time. If you are someone who spends a lot of time in the outdoors, take it upon yourself. This year, maybe a 2025 resolution for you is take someone new out into the outdoors, take them fishing, take them hiking, take them camping, whatever it is. Help them experience what it is that made you fall in love with the outdoors. That's a huge goal of mine this year, and I hope to do it well more than once. And then one more, parting thought is your time in the outdoors doesn't have to be doing something grand. It doesn't have to be this extravagant hunting trip or, a 10-mile hike. It could be as simple as, just go take a 10-minute hike through the woods, sit by a river, breathe some fresh air, whatever way you find the ability to connect with the outdoors. I encourage you to do it, and do it often. I find for myself, at least, the more time I spend doing one thing, or really just the more time I spend outdoors, the more of a drive I get to experience it more and to experience it in different ways. So that's what I want to leave you with. Call it a challenge maybe. But again, thank you so much for your time. Just remember that no matter how big or how small, mountains are everywhere. So until next time, you keep climbing. And I promise you that I'll be climbing too.